Okay.
Okay, we're ready to go, Rick.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. A little belated, but still the feeling is there. And welcome to the January 21st night 2021 Historic Preservation Meeting. This is a regular meeting of the Montclair Historic Preservation Commission. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. And because we are in the age of COVID, we are meeting remotely. And anyone who would like to join, it's open. This meeting is open to the public. It will be televised on TV 34 and Montclair Government YouTube. So the public can join. They can participate in the meeting via computer or phone. There is a computer access. If you go onto Montclair Township, you can get all the access codes and numbers to enter the meeting. To participate by phone, please call 1-408-418-9388 and enter the meeting code 179-753-7135. So, Mr. Petto, could you please call the roll?
Sure. Ms. Dennis?
Present.
Mr. Heineman?
Present. Here.
Mr. Rooney?
Present.
Here.
Mr. Greendown is excused this evening. Ms. Kane-Levy?
Present.
And Mr. Reinman?
Here.
And Mr. Karasik?
I'm here.
And Mr. Connolly?
Here. Why am I getting
Okay.
Okay, so the first order of business is the election of officers for the upcoming year. Will someone nominate a chair for that position?
I nominate Kathleen Bennett.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know whether to thank you or not. Okay, we have the next position up is vice chair. Would someone like to nominate a vice chair?
I nominate Jason Hyman.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, congratulations, Jason. And now we move to secretary and assistant secretary. Would someone please nominate secretary for 2021?
Nominate
tell me-
Graham Petto.
Second?
Second.
I second that.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Graham, you're stuck with us another year. And assistant secretary.
Welcome back, though, Graham. Welcome
Yes, welcome back. Assistant secretary, would someone like to nominate someone?
I nominate Janice Talley.
Second?
Second.
back. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, okay. Well, thank you, everyone. We have the new positions in order. We have a lot on our plate this year. I think it's going to be a good year, so I appreciate it. Next is our approval of minutes from December 10th, 2020. Has everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes?
Right.
There you go. Okay. Has anyone had an opportunity to read the minutes, and are there any comments or changes? I just have one, and it's a clerical error, really, on page 2. The 1, 2, 3, the fourth paragraph. It says they agreed that some latitude should be given because it should be the barn. Right there, it has a barn. And then I wondered whether the barn is, it says distantly visible, and I wonder if partially visible is a better description of what we saw from the streets. Does anyone have any opinion on that, or? Should we consider that a change?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So Graham, it's going to be the barn and is partially visible from the streets. So can I have a motion to accept the minutes with the changes, two changes, minor changes?
I move to accept the minutes with the minor changes.
And second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Hey, Jason, can you turn your volume up somehow?
All the way up. I could just hold the mic a little bit closer. Is that better?
Mm.
Just a little bit. Okay.
Because I wasn't last week.
Oh, right. Okay. So with one abstention, all in favor with one abstention. Because Ms. Kane-Levy was not here on was not present for December 10th. Okay, so moving along, is there anybody in the public that is would like to comment? It's our public comment session. I guess that goes to you, Graham, if anybody.
Yeah, I'm just reviewing the attendees. We did just the only other folks here in the meeting room right now, even by phone, are participants for this evening's applications. I can unmute their lines and see if anyone would like to provide any public comment. So members of the public, if you have any comments, give a shout now and we'll let you speak. Their lines are unmuted. Okay. We're hearing none, Chair Bennett.
Okay. So we move, before we start with, thank you, Graham. Before we start with committee reports, maybe we should review who's on the committee. Do you have a list of people on the current committees, Graham? I meant to ask you that.
Let me just see if I can pull that up. Yes, I do. Hang on one second. We retained all committee appointments from 2019 into 2020. So this list is current of the current committee memberships that we have.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I see. Okay. So
we carried over all memberships from 2019 to 2020.
Right.
So this list is the current committee membership.
So can everybody review this list now that Graham has put it up? And if there's any, if you want to change committees, or if you want to sit on another committee, I think people could sit on more. We could have 3 on a committee.
It's 2 per committee, and then the chair is an ex officio member, as noted at the bottom of all committees.
Right.
Okay. I would like to add myself to a couple of committees, if possible. I volunteer for the Design Review and Redevelopment Committee and Revisions Committee.
Good.
Great.
Okay.
Is there, Graham, you'll update this list for 2021 then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are there any other changes to be made to this before we move on?
Looks good to me.
Okay, great. So now we'll go to committee reports. Why don't we start with, well, we could start with this list, the Design Review and Redevelopment Committee. Steve, do you want to report on that? We had a meeting of the HPC, the Planning Board, and the applicant for the Diva Lounge, which is on Bloomfield and North Willow. And John Reimnitz is the architect, so he presented to us what they had unearthed on North Willow. So
Right.
Steve, you want to go give a little bit more detail, please? I think you're mute, Steve. Steve, you're mute.
Steve, turn us.
We can't hear you.
Oh, he went off. He's coming back on.
Well, Steve, while we're waiting for Steve to come back on, the HPC members, which were Steve, Rooney, and myself, were there in an advisory capacity to advise to the planning board.
Right.
So, Steve, are you there now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The planning board chairman, John Wynn, was not happy with it because he doesn't like rough surfaces. But the existing surface that John has found is probably was a no, that was probably what was shown. That was the final surface. And it's a rough concrete block. And it has been modified many times. They filled in windows, they've opened up openings and things like that. And we felt that it would be really good to expose that and clean it up as much as possible. And through long discussion, because it took a long time to convince him that we might be able to do that. And they cleaned up some stuff on there, and we went out there and looked, and it's now been pushed back to one of the planning board committees, which is revisions and things like that. But I think that it's going to really hold up. We were trying to convince him that this building is historic, and we should actually show something that is historic. And it's also something to be said for Stephen Plofker, the owner, in that this is kind of his design aesthetic, is using rough surfaces, existing surfaces, and black painted steel beams. And it might be a good idea to show something that's current that is also historic at the same time. I can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Kathleen.
Oh, okay. Subsequent to this meeting, I wrote a letter to Janice and members of the planning board with the preservationist idea that any original surfaces that are uncovered should be left, should be celebrated, should be left that way. So, and I also pointed out that in reality, it would have been a secondary facade because the primary facade is on Bloomfield Avenue. So the fact that it's rough is really the historic nature of it. Right. So that's application 2489. Do you know when that will be heard by the planning board?
I do not know when it's going to be heard, but it's going to go past the revisions committee or whatever the planning board's version of that is.
Okay, so if you can just keep us informed when that's going to be heard, I'd like to be in attendance at that meeting. All right. And then that was the okay. We also had another revisions meeting just yesterday, I believe, for Ascend at 395 Bloomfield Avenue, and John and myself and Graham met, and we discussed the wood-like siding, the metal parts, and the opaque window finish. John, would you like to report on that?
Sure. We met on site with the lawyer for the owner, and unfortunately, there was no one from the design team or the architect there. So, of course, I was asking a lot of questions that no one could answer. But what we tried to do was tie them down in terms of how they were applying this horizontal faux wood finish, how they turn corners, how they could expose more of the brick pier that's on one side, that they clean up the existing terrazzo entry, which is quite nice. It's quite nice. It has some cracks in it, but rather than covering it over with other new tile or something, they agreed to go along with that. We reviewed the storefront material, which is just typical anodized aluminum storefront material. They did change out the blackout. I don't know if everyone remembers, they had a blackout for all the windows. They did change it to, essentially it's a warm gray color. So instead of being a hole back in there, it'll tend to lighten up a little bit. I think that was really it. They seem to be open to all our suggestions, and so I think it went well.
One of the major ones is what you suggested for the pulling back the side of the window of the vitrine to expose the pier. So there's
an old, and who knows when it appeared, store front window that projects out towards the Bloomfield Avenue. And I just asked that it be pulled back so that it would expose the brick pier on the side. They seem to be open to that.
Yes, I think those were good suggestions and things that were not in the what we had originally discussed at our meeting. So, all right. Thank you, John. So we also had a minor applications meeting. We had two minor sign considerations, one for Crabulicious at 379 Bloomfield and one for Sweet Tea Southern Eatery at 367 Bloomfield Avenue. So we've been quite busy since December, actually. Moving on to community outreach and education. Graham, could you please give us an update on the current grant?
So we'll be issuing the RFP for the modifications to the design guidelines to SHPO for their final sign-off and review. Once that happens, then we can go forward and retain a consultant to complete the update to the design guidelines. This is under the CLG fiscal year 2020 grant application. And then also to update on the fiscal year 2019 grant application, the council just last week or 2 weeks ago approved the contract extension that was authorized by SHPO to extend our 2019 grant through May of this year. This will allow the consultant team to do more work hopefully in the field and get some more research done now that things are perhaps a little bit better regarding the COVID situation and restrictions on access to some research materials. So that's authorized by the council. We're going to go through the contract execution process to update that contract term. So both of those projects are moving forward, and albeit slower than usual, we're moving forward on those.
Thank you, Graham. And then there's an upcoming grant that Graham has just gotten information, which is a little bit more money, almost double the amount of money, actually. So we, meaning the Education and Landmarks Nomination Committee, Steve Rooney and myself, met to discuss if we apply for that, what would the application be for? And we thought that maybe doing a survey, historic structure survey of the Upper Montclair commuter district, because that has the most number of historic structures within it. I believe there's 300, correct, Graham? I couldn't find that exact number, but
So I just did the calculation today. It's
oh,
about 600.
600. Okay. All right. So we thought that Graham has to make this, put in this application by February 15th, Graham?
February 15th is the deadline. Yes, I should note it's the same funding program as all the others, the Certified Local Government Grant and Aid Program. Just as the two grants that I spoke about earlier, it's the same funding program. The top award amount is much bigger this year. I'm not sure what's happening as far as the pass-through funds, but we're going to take advantage of that and go with a little bit bigger of a survey project this year.
So does anybody have any thoughts about that and about the direction that this grant? We thought it would be good because it would be after we do the rewrite of the design guidelines, which will include the residential guidelines. Okay, so we'll go forward with that, Graham.
Okay.
And then community outreach. I was speaking to Graham earlier, and Graham, okay, there you go. Yeah, that's 600. It's quite a large area.
Map of the Upper Montclair community area.
Great. Okay, thanks. The other thing we'd like to do is Graham has on occasion done small workshops for us after our meetings, and he actually has made, I don't know if anybody remembers this, the matrix of the HPC matrix, review matrix, which really talks about our relationship with the other two land boards, the zoning board and the planning board. And I think that it would be a good idea, and I've asked Graham if he would actually do this, to give a presentation to both the zoning board and the planning board on what our work is here at the HPC, because I think sometimes there's a disconnect. And I feel sometimes that they think we're working in a void, or maybe there's too many personal opinions in terms of design and architectural, ideas. So I think this will give them a clear idea of the fact that we really have to follow design guidelines, and we follow the Secretary of Interior standards, and also that we are all well educated in a number of different fields and in this. So Graham's going to be in contact with the chair people and see when he can do a brief presentation based on the review matrix that he's done for us. So I thank you, Graham, in advance for that. And then the other thing, just for the other thing is I was contacted by a couple of people that had read about the solar panels on the Board of Education buildings. Just very briefly, maybe Graham, you could speak to that we have no jurisdiction on any school buildings because the Board of Education actually owns them. So once again, if they asked us for advice, we could give advisory opinion to them. I did reach out to the chairperson, the superintendent. I haven't heard back from him. I know understand there's a lot going on now with kids going back to school, not going back to school. So the only other thing I think of to reach out is possibly being present at a Board of Education meeting and ask the board directly. It's difficult to get anybody's email addresses. So I just wanted to, I know that Caroline, you were very concerned about that. And I don't know if there's anything more we can do aside from reaching out and being ready and willing to give our opinion on what they're planning to do. I mean, we don't even know what they're planning to do aside from putting solar panels on the buildings. So that's that. Mr. Connolly has been he does a walkabout every month. He goes through the historic districts in town and then writes a report, which he sends to Graham. So I'm just curious, Graham, procedurally, what happens with what Tom sends to you about various?
From the yeah, from the report, we go forward and do an administrative review to confirm that, these properties obtain permits and investigate what the permit work that they're doing. And if need be, we will issue, violations of the historic preservation ordinance and notify to file an application. So we have 3 projects we need to review based on Tom's report from January that we'll be following up with. They just received it today, so we'll be following up on those.
Well, I just want to make everybody aware that, if anybody sees anything in town, now that Graham is back, he's the point person to get in touch with, and he will then make sure that people go out and code violations people. So thank you, Graham. That's one of the many duties that you do for us. Thanks again. What else? Oh, I am very happy to announce that I finally got the certificates done for the preservation awards. They will go out tomorrow. I'll send you copies of all those, Graham. So I was able to coordinate the letterhead on the certificate, so they look really nice. So again, this upcoming year, we should try to keep in mind anything that we look at for awards, because it's sort of difficult to try to do everything at the very end, or at the end of the year after the deadline. So if we going forward have a plan that we're going to give these awards in May, we should really have our eyes and ears open to what we've been looking at. And with that, I know I wrote an email to everybody to come to this meeting with an idea of what our goals and objectives should be for 2021. But I'd like to ask to hold off for next month, because I think that there's going to be a couple of things happening within the month that might further our goals. So if anybody has anything, please bring that to our February meeting. Okay, so without further ado, we have old business. There is none. And our new business we have 4 applications, and we have 2 resolutions at the very end. So why don't we start with the first application, which is the referral from the Board of Adjustment. It's application 2695, Kyle and Carey Kolaja at 54 South Mountain Avenue. It's a conditional use variance to expand an existing carriage house in the R-O Mountainside Zone. And that's why we are looking at this, because it is in a state historic zone, and we are looking at it to give advice to the zoning board. There is no, in your packet, there is no planning report, but there is, thank you, Graham. Mr. Connolly has made a report. So what this building exists at 54 South Mountain Avenue. The application proposes to expand this building, which is an existing garage, on 3 sides to allow for the expansion of car storage and a second floor residence with terrace. The existing shed located behind is to be demolished. Various site improvements are planned, which include a new stone patio and relocation of an existing retaining wall. So we are looking at this. It's a variance for a change of use variance.
Yes. So carriage houses that are pre-existing are permitted within the zone as long as they established a residential use as of 1979, I believe. In this case, the applicant is seeking to expand that use larger than it was previously. So that's the degree to which they need variance relief from the Board of Adjustment.
Thank you, Graham. And before we hear from the applicant, I just want to say that.
I just wanted to, and further into that point, Ms. Bennett, I just wanted to note that the applicant is not here this evening.
Oh, okay. Well, then I would like to note that when I first saw this, I thought that this building was not visible from the street. And indeed, going from Bloomfield Avenue south, you can barely see it through, it sits on a rise and there's trees. But then I had to turn around and come back, and going north on South Mountain Avenue, you really do see this facade up behind the house. So the facade, we're looking at this because the facade is visible from the street. So if there's nobody here to call as a witness, why don't we just, what is it, Mr. Connolly, could you tell us?
Kathleen?
Kathleen Jason is.
Can I interject for a sec?
Sure.
Since the applicant isn't here and we have 3 others, might I suggest we table this to the end and move forward with applications where the next application where someone's here?
Okay,
All right, so
sure.
I'll move to table till
To the end of this meeting?
business.
Okay. Good.
Okay. So, hold on. Okay, next on the agenda is also a referral from the board to the Board of Adjustment. It's application 2700. It's at 4 Waterbury Road. It's a bulk variance of the maximum permitted height of a retaining wall in the front yard in the R1 zone. And we are reviewing this. Hold on. We're reviewing this because this is located within the Marlborough Park Historic District, National and New Jersey listed Register of Historic Places. The dwelling is identified in the nomination report for the district as a contributing structure. And I also would like to note that the Montclair Design Guidelines, Section 613, guidelines for site features, fences and walls, notes that brick is generally an appropriate material for new walls. So the applicant is requesting a variance for to permit a wall that extends the maximum height permitted of 4.5 feet when built in front of the extreme rear corners of the principal building. The applicant proposes a 6-foot wall in front of the extreme rear corners of the municipal building. And Graham has put up a picture of what is proposed. There is an existing fence there, a wooden fence there at the time. So do we have anybody here to speak to this application?
Yes, you do. You have the homeowner, Anthony Montalto, on the call.
Okay, hi.
Hello.
Did I hear the owner is here and who else?
Just the owner.
The owner will be tested. Okay, could you just raise your right hand, please?
Sure.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're going to give this commission is truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great, thank you very much.
So, Mr. Montalto, could you please describe what you propose to do here?
Sure. So as you can see from the bottom left-hand image, there's an existing fence along the Watchung Avenue part of the house. It's a side lot along Watchung Avenue. The front part of the house is on Waterbury Road. We're right on the corner. As you can see, it's probably hard to see from this picture. The fence is ready for repair at this point. So the reason why we're recommending a stone wall is there's been an excessive amount more traffic going into town. Watchung Avenue is a very traveled street, and more so now than ever, you know, with the new residents in the Watchung Plaza right on Park Street. So what we're asking to do is put this up for 2 reasons. One is some privacy. I have 2 younger boys. It's right on the Watchung Avenue, which is a little concerning with cars driving by with such close access to the Garden State Parkway. So I want to make sure we have some privacy for my 2 children who are 4 and 6 years old. The second is the excessive noise that's occurring from Watchung Avenue. A fence structure will not provide a good ways to muffle the noise. That's why I'm proposing a solid wall. And what you can see here in this plan view is the location of the wall will be, you know, along Watchung Avenue. And towards the front part, if you can highlight the area towards the front, there's a shorter wall. That wall will not be, that's in compliance with the town requirements right up there. It's really the U-shaped form that goes from the corner of the house both sides towards Watchung and then back again. And really, this is about providing the privacy and the sound mitigation I was talking about. The other thing I'd note too is there is a drastic grade change from the house down towards the street of about 2 feet, 2.3 feet. So in actuality, when you're walking up to the house, the 6 foot is still in that kind of 4.5 foot range anyway. The last thing I'll probably note is that we are very cognizant that this house is in this district. We want to make sure that we maintain a good, good organic feel to it. That's why we're proposing stone to kind of blend in with the natural area. And if you can go back to the rendering. So the other plan too is, in addition to the stone to give it that natural organic feel, we really want to have it blend in with the environment around there. So we're recommending we do some deciduous ivy, wood vine ivy, that would kind of blend in to give it that kind of organic feel. And then also with the masonry, it's giving that also that blend in with the landscape around the area.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Does that end your discussion then?
Yeah, do you have any questions?
Well, that's what we do next. So why don't we start with John? Do you have any? We'll start now with questions for the applicant.
Sure.
John, do you have any?
Yeah. Do we have any elevations drawn showing this new wall?
Yes, there's a plan in there, the package.
Can you bring that up for a second? I see the plan, but is there any elevations of the wall itself?
Yeah, I didn't see. I don't think we received an elevation, Mr. Montalto. It was just the.
Yeah, go into that same, Graham, if you can go to that, just zoom into the plan you had.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just a little bit more, sorry. There's notes, the yellow notes indicate the height of the wall at the location. As the grade is changing, it's trying to maintain that 6 foot. So when you look back at that rendering, you see a little bit of the step of the wall. We're trying to stay below that 6 foot mark line, essentially.
So basically, there's no elevations. Okay, can we go back to the?
What Mr. Roundus is looking for is an architectural drawing of the face of the wall. As far as the face of the wall.
Got it. Okay, understand.
Yeah, this is going to be such a strong feature there. I'm not convinced by this. I don't know how this rendering was made, but I'm not convinced. And I'm not sure. I guess I got it. So are these doors that go into, how tall are these doors that penetrate this wall?
So the doors would be no higher than the wall height, which would be around 6 foot. There's currently a gate where the 2 doors are shown, a gate entranceway. One is on the Watchung Avenue side, and the other door, as you can see, is closer to the home, which is right on the Waterbury side. So we maintain those 2 entrances to keep with the walkways we have in place.
Can I look? Maybe it's on my machine here. Hold on. No, can I see the rendering again? Whoever's controlling that.
Yep.
Okay, so how tall is the wall next to the house?
So next to the house, that would be approximately 6 foot tall.
And and as it slopes down towards the street, it steps down towards the street?
Oh, I'm sorry. So starting from the corner of the house where you were with the windows?
Yes.
Yeah, that's less than 6 feet because you have to actually marry up with the grade change.
So we don't know how tall that is. I'm just wondering if it's 5 feet, then that's a 4 foot door or something. I just want to be.
Well, so it's shown here on the site. If I can assist here, it's shown here on the site plan. So TW top of wall. So the grade is 295.3 and the top of the wall is 299. So what?
That's 4 feet. That's not even 4 feet. So how do you create a wall with a door in it if it's only 4 feet tall at that point?
Yeah, it would just be a gate inside the stone wall. There'll be no top over the top of the door.
Okay. So we don't really have we don't have a rendering that really shows us what this looks like, and we don't have any elevations that show us what this looks like. I guess I would want to see something that was relatively accurate before I comment further on this.
What would you like update on the rendering, just so I'm clear? I understand the architectural wall sections. That's the,
Well, let's go back to the rendering. I see a rendering there that shows where it's attached to the house that there's a wall with what looks like a doorway in it, but that wall's only 3.7 feet high. So that means that little thing is that if you're proposing a 3-foot high little door through that wall at that point?
it'd be a gate opening essentially.
Okay, so I guess I'd like to see that, see what that is. I guess that would be what, a flat, the gate it's wood, but is it an arched top? Is it flat? What does it really look like? And I guess the one over on the left is probably drawn more accurately.
That's correct.
And what's on top of this wall?
It's nothing on top of the wall. It's just stone.
How thick is this wall?
It should be on the plan.
Yeah. Just a suggestion. I guess I don't have okay, that was my question. I'll have a comment about that when we get around to comments.
Okay.
I don't have any more questions at the moment.
Thanks. Steve? Steve?
Did we lose him?
No, there we go. I couldn't get unmuted.
Yep. You just
Elevation. Over on the left side, it looks like the height of the wall is higher than it is on this long piece going up towards Waterbury. Are they actually the same height, or where is this extra height coming from?
Graham, if you could go back yet, thank you. So there is a change as you're going from the western side of the property towards the east. You're around 295.4, and working your way east, you get down to 293. So we're still trying to maintain that 6-foot high, depending on where we are.
What is on either side of the gate? It says that it's 300. What is TW?
Top of wall.
TW is top of wall,
Okay.
and then 294 here is the point. That's the ground point. So this here on either side of the doorway, it's 6 feet in height.
Is there any reason to drop the height of the wall? Why isn't it all the same height on the Watchung Avenue?
The top of wall is roughly consistent from 301 to 299.
The grade goes downhill from left to right.
Sloping down.
Yeah, do you see the contours as it's working its way east?
Right. Top of wall towards the back is 301. And the narrow wall up by the Waterbury. And the reason for that wall is the narrow one.
It's just to continue where the fence line was before. It's a minor wall height. That's all within compliance at this point. It's only 30 inches high.
Right. Yeah, I don't see any reason for it. So.
Also, to give it there's some shrubbery that I plan to maintain over here. I don't want people walking over, all the flowers and the garden patches over here, essentially, cutting the corner.
Yeah, many of us have that problem. And the stone that you're using, what kind? What kind of stone?
The stone?
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking, there's a couple of different stones where I'm talking to the civil engineer about. One we're looking at is a rainbow ashlar stone. Has a little bit of a texture to it and different color variation. There's a little bit of a yellow tint that I like that would blend in with the house color.
Is there any place on the property where you have this stone?
Where I have, I'm sorry, what's that?
Is there any place on the property where this stone was
No,
currently?
Nope.
What is the base of the house? You know, down area right there. What is that? Is it concrete block? Is it poured concrete?
it's poured concrete.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
Caroline, would you like to ask any questions?
So is the top wall with a stone veneer?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase your question? I didn't hear you.
Is it a veneer, a fake stone veneer on a concrete block wall? Or is it really stone?
It's real stone.
That's my only question.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I have a question. Are there other, can you think of other similar walls nearby?
Yes, I do have a couple of locations. One is on Park Street. It's the corner of Park Avenue, Wildwood. It's actually a brick structure that is well over 6 foot high. That's in the park. There's a location on Valley Road, just south of Enchmont Park, that has a solid fence that's greater than 6 foot high. It's not a stone wall, but it's a solid fence. So all the variances for any kind of opaque structure, whether it's a fence, a solid fence, or a stone wall. But I have seen it elsewhere besides those two locations I gave you examples of.
Yeah, the
Jason.
Park Street you're referring to is the anchorage, which is
Oh. Brick.
right.
Okay, Jason. Jason, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, well, I have a question then. Mr. Rooney just spoke about brick, and I know with that Tom Connolly, the historic preservation consultant, I think he said about brick. Right, number 3, about using brick as opposed to the stone masonry, which would be more, right, okay, thank you, more appropriate for this this house. Have you considered brick?
Yeah, I did. The reason why we went with stone, honestly, was just because I wanted to maintain some sort of organic feel and try to have it blend in with the environment. I didn't want it to feel like another structure. I wanted to actually feel like landscape. And that's why I wanted to introduce the ivy to the wall. I'm not opposed to the brick. I would just prefer the stone only because of that kind of organic feel to it.
Okay. And there are no other questions then? Okay, why don't we have Mr. Connolly, can you please give your comments before we discuss?
Well, everybody's pretty much touched on the 3 comments that I had noted in my review. I basically said that this was pretty much just a preliminary review in order for the HBC to fully comment on this project. A full set of architectural drawings with construction details and dimensions, including samples, will be required, because it's kind of tough, as everybody's kind of already pointed out, to understand all aspects of the wall. And then I also noted that the front yard fences, which is somewhat of a fence wall, under your historic design guidelines, the maximum height allowed is 4 feet. And then the only other comment I had was that the applicant should consider using brick masonry for the wall, because the front steps to the property and all the walks on the property are made of brick, and introducing another material, I thought would be detrimental. It would be nicer to have a consistency with the material on the site.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So why don't we go open it up now for discussion within the members? So, John, would you like to comment?
My comments would be, I'd like to see, well, I guess we're, if I understood what Tom just said, we are going to see more detailed drawings.
Yeah. No, so I just want to clarify for the members of the commission. So this is an application to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. The applicant is bound by the submission and checklist requirements that the Zoning Board maintains. So the application has been deemed complete with respect to submission for the Zoning Board review. So again, these are comments that you'll be making to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Should they approve the application, you could certainly request that any detailed construction documents or drawings be referred to the HPC for review following approval of the height condition. But the application is scheduled at the February 3rd Board of Adjustment meeting. So this application will be heard and reviewed by the Board of Adjustment. So it's important right now for the commission to convey whatever comments you may have or what you may want to see as a result of an approval or rendered decision by the board, and how you'd like them to have you be part of the post-review process.
Okay.
Can I just ask
So
another question, Graham? What is the variance that's being requested?
It's to exceed the maximum permitted height. The maximum permitted height in this area is 4.5 feet, and the applicant is seeking to build a 6-foot wall. Maximum height is 4.5 feet.
okay. It looks like to me, I'll just comment that this wall that faces, I guess, Waterbury, does it get above 4.5 feet?
Graham, can you go back to the plan? Thank you. So let's just see, top of wall 294.
So it's
No, it looks
5.9 here at the corner.
Right there is 4.5.
This is 4.5.
So
And then
it drops off a foot and a half there, and it becomes 6 feet.
Yep.
So it becomes non-compliant just in the corner there facing Waterbury.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And that's at 299. So as you turn the corner, I'd feel much more comfortable if the top of the wall was level all the way around.
Right.
The fact that it's jumped, I'm just looking at the numbers there. 299, 299, 299.5, 300. It's not changing that much across the front. It could all be, we're only talking 6 inches there from 299.5 to 299. It seems to me that it could easily be level all the way around at the top. So that would be my comment. That's what I would like to see. Is a little consistency. Otherwise, it's going to be, it's a little bit of a mess, in my opinion.
If I may comment, the only thing that may push us back into the northwest corner of the wall may get a little bit taller to accommodate that. There may have to be some sort of increase in the 6 foot at some location to keep it level all the way across. Actually, I'm sorry, no, southwest.
Southwest. So you're saying you're at 295 there, and if you're at 299, then it'd be, what top of wall you have? 301. Well, I would try to find some sort of happy medium and see if you could get it higher and and level it all the way around somehow. That's just that's my comment.
John, may I ask you about the what you feel about the material, knowing that our guidelines state that the use of brick masonry would be more appropriate?
I don't have a problem with the idea that this is more of an organic, and it tends to recede a little bit. I know the wall on Park and Wildwood, that's in front of a very finished Georgian house, and it's very detailed. I don't think, in order to pull off a brick wall here, I think it would require a lot of detailing in terms of, how you turn the corner, some patterning to the brick, a lot more. It's just not going to be a flat brick wall. I think to me, the stone, I'd like to see what the stone is, but I don't have a problem with the stone per se.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rooney?
I agree mostly with John. I would like to see the height of the wall just be uniform, all the way around. I don't have a problem with the stone per se. Maybe you could find a stone that is actually more local to Montclair that you can find. This I don't believe is. Give you the idea, maybe you just dug it up in your backyard and put it up there.
Sure.
I think it'll be a handsome addition along Watchung. I don't know, and I do appreciate the idea of having privacy along Watchung Avenue, because it is a busy road. It's also, you've got the church across the street, which creates a lot of parking on Sundays.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, Caroline?
I look around and I just feel like a 6-foot tall wall is very atypical of all of your residential areas in Montclair. So it makes me a little uncomfortable, this being such a visible, prominent location. So I personally, I can't support it. I can't support the of what would be allowed at 4.5 feet. And also the low wall just makes it all that much more massive and prominent.
May I comment, or is that okay?
Who's, Mr. Montalto? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I totally understand your concern. I knew that would be an item that came up. I would say this is a bit of a unique situation with the big sloping we're seeing from the side of the house down. If we put up a 4.5-foot wall and we're up closer to the house in the backyard, you might as well be stepping over it at some point and looking straight down on cars. I'm not going to maintain the same kind of noise mitigation that I'm looking for. Really, this is about the privacy and the noise, honestly. I do understand your concern, and that's why I went with the stone, to kind of keep it that, making it look like the landscape around, but I hear your point.
Okay, and thank you. Jason, do you have any more comments?
I don't have much to substantively add. I think I share Caroline's concern. I probably wouldn't support the variance. But I do agree with Mr. Rooney and Mr. Reinitz to the extent that this wall does get constructed. I think it should be, the top of wall should be level all the way around.
And what about the material, the stone versus brick?
I don't have a problem with the stone. I do understand that the design guidelines recommend brick, but there's doesn't appear to be much brick on site, and to the extent the applicant proposes plantings to try and screen, make it look more organic and mitigate, I think I'd prefer that route.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have The issues, this is a variance for a wall that is 2 feet above the 4 feet for 6 feet. And I've heard varying opinions on whether or not we agree with the, giving.
I just want to clarify for the record, it's 1.5 feet taller than the permitted. 4.5 is the maximum permitted.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Thanks, Graham. I thought I was thinking of 4.
Well, that doesn't jive with what's in the design guidelines. That's where I got the 4-foot dimension. So that differs from what's in the design guidelines.
Oh, Tom, I can't hear you.
So what is in our design guidelines is 4 feet.
Oh, it is?
Isn't it a zoning requirement too, Graham?
The zoning maximum is 4.5, so it's a discrepancy
4.5.
between the design guidelines and what's in the zoning ordinance. The applicant can by right construct this 4.5 at 4.5 feet, and the HPC would never see it. The applicant is only here because he needs variance relief to go up to 6 feet.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Graham. I guess that's what we're going to have to address that when we rewrite the guidelines. So we're looking at something that I hear mixed opinions as to whether or not to, if we agree that this should be 1.5 feet above what the zoning guidelines are. I think I could support the level top all around, and also the need to have more detailed drawings, because really it's hard to with elevations, because it's really hard to understand how this is going to relate to the house, especially with the little hobbit door over there. And the materials, I can support the stone. I do know the guidelines say brick, and I think a brick that's weathered over time would be beautiful here. But I know that new brick will be very difficult to get that weathered look and an organic look. So that I can see, I can see this as opposed to the new brick. But we do have the consideration of the height. So
just in reviewing the comments, just so if I can help summarize some of this. So it sounds like Ms. Kane-Levy and Mr. Heineman are not in support of the variance relief that's being requested by the applicant. So I guess it's just to clarify if Mr. Reimnitz, Mr. Rooney, and you, Chair Bennett, are in agreement with that position. And just to further advise, we have provided the boards with reports that convey that there was a difference of opinion regarding, support of variance relief being sought. So we can also craft something should there be a case where we have varying support.
Okay, so why don't we say that there was various opinions as to whether the height should be permitted at 6 foot, and I think maybe more detailed drawings might even clarify that if we had an idea of. I mean, I understand the concern, Mr. Montalto's concern with the house being up on a little bit of a hill, that you really want to have something supportive, something strong there at the edge of the property. So if you write that there was a various opinion that maybe started off with more detailed drawings would lend a lot to this application, to understanding it. That we felt that the height should be level, and that the material, if it is to be stone, should be a local stone. I don't know what a local stone would be, a grayish shale type, I don't know. What about the architects out there, John or Steve? Do you have any ideas of what type of stone?
I would just go, there are still a few operating quarries around, and I would just go to one of those and find what they're digging out of the ground, I would tend to be a little bit more neutral with the color, because I think the base of the house is a little bit more neutral. It's just poured concrete is what I'm hearing. So there you go. And I would say the ivy helps a lot. So I would say if that wasn't there, it would look completely different. So I think it's got to be somehow that fact that you are growing ivy is a requirement here.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point something out though. If we're talking about constructing a sound barrier, a solid masonry wall is probably one of the worst things you could use if you wanted to deter sound. The wood fence with shrubbery would do a lot better than a solid masonry wall. So I think the height of the wall is not going to matter. I happen to be on a design committee for the walls that were constructed on 280. They use these solid masonry walls because they're cheap and easy, but as a sound barrier, they're probably the worst thing you could use. A wood wall would be a lot better.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that, Tom. I guess you're on a committee that's looked at that a lot, but sound gets repelled by mass, and a heavy stone wall is bouncing that sound back to the street. So it's certainly not soundproof. There's no such thing as soundproofing along here. It's only a matter of mitigating a little bit. So, but neither.
I actually reached out. I'm in the design industry. I reached out to an acoustician to help kind of understand what the level of dB drop will be in the backyard. I took some readings in the backyard. We're somewhere around 65 dBA, which is pretty high in terms of noise levels. And this was kind of his recommendation in terms of trying to mitigate some of the noise.
Okay.
Okay, you're muted, Kathleen.
Oh, sorry. So, and then I guess
I have the list of comments put together. So just note that there was varied support for the variance relief. The commission recommended that the top of the wall height be consistent should the application be approved. The commission supports the proposed stone material and recommends a local stone. The commission requests that landscaping be incorporated into the final finish of the wall, as shown in the submitted rendering, and that the applicant is to return to the commission should the application be approved for review of the stone material and presentation of more detailed finished drawings.
Read the last one again, Graham.
That the applicant is to return to the commission for review of the selected stone material or final selection of the stone material, and also submit detailed drawings to support the application for review.
Okay, and we haven't even discussed with the gates. I get, are those wooden gates? Is that what's on the site plan?
Yeah, the proposal is a wooden gate.
Okay, I didn't see that. All right, so we don't have to mention that. And is it mentioned that it will be solid stone? It's not going to be the veneer, any veneer that Caroline brought up. No. Okay.
Yeah. So in the materials note, I'll add that the commission supports a solid stone material wall as presented.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Thank you, Mr. Montalto. Good luck at the zoning board.
Thank you, and thank you for the time tonight. Have a great night.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, moving along, we have another referral to the Board of Adjustment, application 2707 at 117 Essex Avenue. This is a bulk variance for a new front porch. And okay, so there's no planning report for this. We do have Mr. Connolly's Preservation Commission preservation report, and we have the application for development, and we have plans from the architect, John Guadaldo. And this, just to give a little bit of introduction, this property is located within the Christopher Street Potential Historic resource area and consists of a circa 1919 2.5-story gabled colonial revival home with a 1-story side wing. The project description is the applicant proposes to demolish the existing front steps and landing along with the extended pediment and construct a new full-width porch with classical columns. Do we have anyone here to speak to the application?
Yeah, Mr. Guardioli is here.
Hello, I'm here.
And I
I'm
just
John.
wanted to, yeah, before you proceed, John, I just want to advise on the variance relief being sought by the application. So the applicant in this case is appearing before the Board of Adjustment seeking a front yard setback variance. The front yard setback here in the R1 zone is 25 feet for the average of the 4 adjacent properties. In this case, Mr. Guadagnoli has measured the adjacent properties, and the required average front yard setback is 46.17 feet. And the current dwelling has a setback of 49.82 feet. With the proposed porch addition, the resulting dwelling will have a front yard setback of 41.82 feet, which is, of course, about 5 feet less than the required. And that's what triggers the need for the variance relief. So I just wanted to summarize that for the commission for the benefit of you. Mr. Guadagnoli, you can go ahead and proceed.
Well, let me swear Mr. Guadagnoli in. And is the applicant going to testify as well?
The applicant, as far as I know, is present.
Yes, I'm here. I'm
All
happy
right,
to.
well, why don't you unmute and raise your right hands, both of you, in case you want to testify. Ms. Hornik, you'll be able to. Okay, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're going to give this commission is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, and just identify yourselves again.
Laura.
This is John Guadagnoli, architect. I prepared the drawings for
Okay,
the Horniks.
and Ms. Hornik, you're the owner, is that?
Yes, that's right. Laura Hornik, owner.
All right, thank you.
And before we begin, Mr. Guardinoli, the plan that you sent us, the photograph of the house that's on this plan is not the house at 117 Essex.
Yes, we
Yeah,
sent. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just to note, Chair Bennett, the revised plan is now shown on the screen with the correct image of the house.
Oh, okay.
I don't see it on the screen. The drawings are
Sorry
not.
about that. Go ahead. Now it should be.
Okay. So this is a revised plan. Is the revision just the picture, or is there anything else different on this plan?
Just the picture.
Okay. So why don't you describe what you propose to do here on this house?
Yes, the applicant would like to remove the existing. It's just a simple pediment over the front door with a landing, and replace it with a full width front porch. The porch would be the same level as the existing landing. As you can see, the existing photograph shows that the pediment being supported by some wrought iron railings, or not railings, or wrought iron kind of, I don't know, ironwork, I guess you call it. So they always wanted a front porch with a swing on it, so they asked me to prepare a drawing that would do just that. We matched the line work of the new porch with the existing house. As you see, the house has a skirt running around it between the second and first floors, like a kind of a little flare out. And we blended the flare out of the existing house into the proposed new porch. There are 4 square columns that support the porch. The door is in the center. It's very symmetrical. And, and we also made the steps a little bit wider. It's more welcoming, we think. And basically we tried to do something that looks like it could have always been there. It doesn't go up or down, or it stays pretty much level and consistent and in line with what's already there. That's really it. It's a simple front porch. It's approximately 8 feet deep, and it runs almost the full width of the house. I kept it slightly recessed in just to stay away from the corners. Yeah, by about 12 inches. And you could see in this photograph that in the plan that just came on the screen, the dotted line on the left indicates the existing overhangs around the house and how that overhang is blended into the porch so that it's all one language and one streamlined language, if you will. The porch has wooden planks which extend from the house out, and it has wooden railings with spaced balusters between, and just railings on going down the steps on either side. We're not changing any windows or the front door. It's just an open porch. That's it.
Okay, thank you. John, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Here, the proposed setback? Oh,
So I just unmuted you, John. We missed the first part of your
Okay.
question. You're asking about the setback.
What is the proposed setback?
The proposed setback. Oh.
Yeah, the proposed setback is 41.82 feet, 41 feet, 10 inches.
Okay, and that you're doing the average of the two houses on either side?
That's correct. And that
What
comes out to
what is the setback on the house on the right, and what's the setback of the house on the left?
wow. Oh, wait.
Here.
Hang on.
Here on the plan.
Oh, hang on. I hit something that I shouldn't have hit here on my screen.
We can still hear you, John. I can assist Mr. Remnant. So the house to the right at 115 is 45.42 feet. The house to the left is 41.75 feet.
Okay, so 45 and 42,
41.
basically. Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
proposed, and you're proposing what, 40?
41.8.
So you're pretty much, well, you're close to the one on one side and not so far away from the house on the other side. It's the two, 121, 113 that throw off the average. Okay.
Right.
Let's see. I did have one other question. Can we go back? Yeah. Let me just look at this for a second. Here's my question. What is happening on the underside is there a section through this porch? Can we see what the ceiling of this porch looks like? Is it a beadboard ceiling painted, or what is it?
Painted beadboard, that's correct.
And it's a flat ceiling on the other side?
Yes, it's flat.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay. Those are my questions.
It matches the existing soffits that run around the house. Yeah.
Okay.
Rooney? I'm sorry, Mr. Rooney?
I had the same questions as John, so no point.
Okay, Caroline?
I don't have other questions.
And Jason?
Yeah, Mr. Guadagnoli, was there any consideration of, maintaining that, I guess the gable from the existing landing?
Jason, we can't hear you.
I was saying, was there any consideration of maintaining the gable from the existing porch landing?
Yes, I had proposed to the Horniks the idea of building the porch as you see it, but with a peak in the center to kind of recall what used to be there. I could talk to them about doing that if that would be more acceptable. I like the idea personally,
I much prefer just the flat roof if it matters. I much prefer what's shown there.
That's
Uh,
not a question.
Do you have any,
Yeah,
No
to
other
answer the
question.
Yes, we did think of it.
I have a question on the proposed, from your drawing, are you, it looks as though the new roof is going to almost lay on top of that flare that comes out?
Right. Well, yeah. Well, we could remove the flare and put in the new roof. That's probably what'll happen. But yes, it will appear to almost piggyback it. You know. Yeah. I can't go any higher because of the windows. You know, the second story windows. We're right up to the windows there. So.
Right. So it's interesting to note that the first the plan that we have, but the house on this to the south of it has that pediment peak over the front door, and it seems as though all the houses in a row there have that, which is very an example of this type of housing type. Okay, Mr. Connolly, can you give us your comments, please?
I really only had one comment, and it's my opinion that the incorporation of this new porch into this classic example of a colonial revival side gable house doesn't work. It's not, you do not see a front porch on this style. And if you drive down all of Essex Street, I don't think you see any colonial revival house with a front porch. There are no front porches on the street, and even the street behind Essex Avenue, I don't know what that is, but I drove down both of them. There was a reason why this neighborhood was deemed to be a potential historic resource, because they were all classic examples of colonial revival houses. The introduction of the porch kind of ruins the architecture of the house. All the things you're talking about, the extended pediment, that's a classic, architectural feature of the style. The pent roof that wraps around the three sides of the house. If this house was styled slightly differently, there are nine, I think there are nine subtypes to the colonial revival styled houses. If this roof was a hip roof or a gambrel roof, a porch would absolutely be the correct thing to add to the house. But on the side gable, you never see it.
Yes, I think that was well spoken. So, but we're here to discuss the variance, and then, correct, Graham, whether or not this.
Yeah, I mean, this is again a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment. They'll be considering this, whether to grant the variance deviation to permit the further encroachment into the front yard setback.
Thank you. So I think for the further discussion, when we open it up to the commissioners, is to, within your remarks, have your opinion about whether or not this variance should be allowed. And also, I think we could speak to the design aspect of the porch. So why don't we start with John, Mr. Reimnitz?
I think he's disappeared for a while.
Oh, I see him there.
Yeah.
John, can you hear us, John? John, can you hear us?
No. Well, Mr. Rooney, do you want to give your opinion?
Yes, I do not have a problem with the setback. I think it won't detract from the neighborhood, et cetera. And just to keep in mind, I like the pediment above the door. I think that that's important for the style and gives importance to the front door. That's it.
Okay, Caroline?
Oh, sorry, Caroline. Go ahead, Caroline.
I too drove around and was looking for porches on these colonial, Dutch colonial revival houses, and unless the ground floor was recessed and then the porch was sort of built in underneath the second story, I didn't see a lot of examples of it. I'm also I'm concerned about the way the roof of the porch marries into the existing apron. I think that could be awkward. That they have different slopes. So I really don't know how that would work out. I don't know. Is there opportunity to put a porch up the rear instead? Because I would encourage looking at that.
An opportunity, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. An opportunity for what?
A porch at the rear if the applicants are looking for an outdoor space. Is that something that you investigated?
Well, no, I mean, this is what they asked me to do. That they wanted a front porch,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'd be happy to redesign the roof style to accommodate a more historically appropriate, perhaps a flat roof would be better with just a pediment over the center, so as to accentuate the front door and negate the side thing. I mean, we would welcome anything that would be acceptable that would get us the porch. There's about 8 ways to do this, so I'm happy to.
Well, I don't think adding a pediment onto the porch, that's very atypical. I don't think that's a feature of porches you see anywhere in any style. So I would not encourage that. I don't know. I'd like what John has to say.
The side here are my comments. First of all, the height of the railing, you have it 30 inches. Is that code compliant?
Let me see. I'm trying to see where I wrote that. I did these drawings a while ago. Sorry. Trying to find.
It's right there in your partial elevation of the
30 inch.
Yeah, I think because the decking is less than 30 inches off the ground.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Okay. I don't have a problem with this in general. I would, on the side elevation, if we could look at the side elevation for a second, I would add a column closer to the wall of the house. So you read 2 columns on that side. I think it would dress up the view of the side of this as you approach it. It looks a little, I think that would help. And other than that, I don't really have any other comments.
John, what do you think about the design within this proposed historic district? If the row of houses going down the street all have this, single entryway, pedimented front door, covered front door.
Mm-hmm. What's there now? It's wrought iron railing supporting this pediment. I can't believe that was original. Let me just see that for a second.
No, but the overall design of it, and if you look at the.
Can I see? Oh, here.
Photograph. Yeah. The photograph, that's the house directly next door. So yeah, there's been some alterations to that entryway.
That's something about it now.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I get the general drift, and I understand the house as it sits in the neighborhood, and I understand that I don't consider this an example of a landmark. I just don't, to me, it's not historically as important that it negates them from doing this. So I think actually the new porch gives some depth to the house. And I think actually John has detailed it rather well. So that's my opinion.
Okay. Jason?
I don't have any further comment.
And about the variance, the fact that they're requiring a variance for the,
I think the setback variance is de minimis. I don't think it's an issue. The issue is whether or not a deck should be allowed, considering the style in the neighborhood. And I'm kind of ambivalent on that point.
we can't hear you. I couldn't hear that last part.
I'm a little bit ambivalent on that point, just considering the nature of the house and the neighborhood. Although a deck isn't something that is readily observable on the street. I don't know if it's that significant of an issue.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You have to take into consideration that you're setting a precedent here now, right? So if you allow this, how many other houses are going to end up with front porches?
Well, I think it's important to note, I mean, again, the commission here is just conveying comments to the Board of Adjustment. I mean, the Board of Adjustment is the one to grant the variance. I don't know the degree to which the board will, consider denial or approval of, encroachment into the front yard setback on the porch proposal. So I think it's just important for the commission to craft whatever comments you want to convey to the board, now as we prepare those final comments for the memo.
Well, I think I've heard that the majority of commissioners feel that the variance is it would be okay. I mean, it's not that far off of the one of the neighboring houses, but I do feel very strongly, actually, that to put a front porch like this one designed on this house would really, there's a certain, those houses in a row really do have a presence there. And yes, it's not a grand historic house, but I think within the context of when it was built and how it was built and the fact that that line remains there is important. So I would strongly recommend that if the variance were granted, that another design be proposed for the porch so that it retains this colonial revival style. I don't know how you would do that. It would be up to an architect, but that's my opinion.
That's why the commission has to be very clear in their comments. So I think we have two comments so far. One is that the commission is in support of the front yard setback variance relief. It's de minimis given the front yard setback of the adjacent properties. Two is that there's a difference of opinion among the commission. Some commissioners were not concerned with the front porch addition. Others felt strongly that the front porch addition is incompatible with the existing style and not congruent with the potential historic resource area. Then I think moving forward, there needs to be a set of comments. You just have to be prepared because the board very well may approve this. So you need to equip the board with comments of what you want. So if you want to propose changes to the design, such as the addition of the column that John had mentioned adjacent to the front wall of the facade, that should be a comment. If there's agreement on incorporation of the pediment into the front of the porch, that could be a comment. But you need to equip the board with what you want, modified or tweaked for them to consider as impositions or conditions of the approval should the board grant approval of the front yard setback.
Okay, well, I did hear, I think 2 or 3 people that the idea of this front porch roof, the marriage of it between the existing roof and the porch doesn't, I mean, can that be some, okay, thank you. That. I mean, can we give, we're not supposed to give design,
No, I
Well,
understand what
and
you're
that's why-
saying,
yeah.
Kathleen, but in terms of if that's a potential modification that could be a condition if the board granted the variance, you know, I asked that question if it was considered, but it, you know, it sounds like, you know, maintaining a gabled roof in the center doesn't really have any architectural basis or precedent. So, you know, I'm kind of hesitant to impose some sort of hybrid alternative in order to, you know, maintain consistency when it you know, may not, you know, it might have a backfiring effect. But going back to the issue at hand, related to whether or not a deck is appropriate, and I'm very conscientious of you know, Mr. Connolly's comment about setting a precedent. But I don't know if we want to set the precedent that no one in this neighborhood should have a front porch in a, you know, a district that hasn't necessarily been designated as historic, but is has been identified. That's my concern.
Mm.
Can I ask a question, Graham?
Sure.
It's the, what's this in front of the zoning board?
Yeah, the zoning board of adjustment.
Yeah, doesn't the zoning board is in charge of these bulk variances, not the HPC. They're just asking us for our comment on what we see in terms of this bulk variance, where they're, right?
Yeah, but
That's
that,
correct.
you know, if they're addressing the bulk variance, they have to go through the positive and negative criteria. And if we say that putting a deck here would be detrimental to the neighborhood architectural scheme, that's going to weigh against them granting the variance. So our recommendations do have a substantive impact.
Okay,
against their determination.
Fine.
Okay, so where are we now? Do we,
As I said, just to kind of reiterate, it's, you know, it sounds like, you know, the overarching comment is just that there's a difference of opinion among the commissioners. You know, there are some commissioners that, based on the comments that I've heard this evening, some commissioners that do support the porch addition, and some that do not. So I think that needs to be the big bullet point, and then I think that we need to craft those recommendations to the applicant and to the board for them to consider, you know, in whatever decision they make on the application. So, you know, if it is an incorporation of an additional column, we need to make that comment. Or, you know, if you want to review materials, as we typically do, you can make that comment. If you want to see the final plan as approved, you can make that comment. You know, those are typically the conditions that we request of the board.
But we seem to be at loggerheads as to whether or not this, you know, approve it as drawn, or can we approve the idea of the variance, but with a different, like, but again, I know what you're saying, Graham, is that it has to be more concrete. So how do we craft that?
Well, I think
Well,
the
I
question to ask, and, you know, we can work our way backwards. If a porch is going to be put there, are there any recommendations to mitigate any issues with inconsistency or ways that we can try and maintain the original look and feel? And if we can agree on those potential issues, then we can drill down to, all right, how do we want to convey whether or not the variance to allow this porch should be granted? And, you know, we could do something similar to the last application where, you know, we indicate that it was a split amongst the commissioners and provide the reasons why some commissioners felt it was not appropriate and why some commissioners felt it was appropriate.
Okay, Graham, can you go back to the picture of the house, please? Would it be possible, I'm asking the architect, to maintain the pediment as it is there, not create a new pediment, maintain the over the doorway, and still have a porch?
Yes.
Well, how about a porch with no roof?
Oh,
Just leave the pediment the way it is and the pent roof the way it is, and create basically a deck with a railing.
Well, the applicant doesn't need a variance for that.
Sorry about that, board members.
Well, no, you would, right? Because it would still be coming out 8 feet.
Uncovered structure is not
Okay.
subject to the variance.
oh,
May I still speak, or is it too late for that?
no, go ahead.
Oh, okay. If you look at the photograph of the house as it is now, the existing house, and you see that pediment over the door, and to either side you see roofing, right? Beneath the top windows, that roofing. When the porch, if the porch were built, that is virtually exactly what you will see, except there'll be some columns under it. But that's it. That's the amount of roof you'll see. It's just sticking out a little bit. That's all. It's right now it overhangs almost 3 feet. It's going to overhang 5 feet more with columns. But that's it. That amount of roof you see right there. That's it. That's what the porch will look like. And frankly, there's no such thing as an ugly porch. So I mean, you know, I understand the historic precedent, but this is a house that people live in 2021, and you know, it's that has to be a consideration as well. It is a house. It is a utility item. It is a dwelling. After all, it's not just a piece of history. It's more than that. So that's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. And believe me, I understand that. But my question, I don't know. Are you the way that you've drawn the porch, because there's not a porch here now, is that there's no pediment and it extends over that pent roof. Am I correct in that, or no?
Yeah, right. There is no pediment, but like I said, we'd be happy to add one. That's fine. In fact, I would prefer it. But the existing roof slopes at a shallower angle to arrive at the same place that the existing, for lack of a better word, a skirt. So that's what I call it, because it kind of flares out. Does that side view you're seeing, the side elevation, shows how the shingle would, on the side of the proposed porch, would blend right into the existing skirt. Like it would just turn and look very built in. It would look, you know, it's not higher or lower. It just lines up, you know. I hope I answered the question. I'm not sure.
Well, can I ask my original question? Is you've drawn it without the pediment.
Right.
Can you maintain the pediment
Yes.
and not create a new one?
Oh, well, the problem is that the old pediment would
Probably not deep
it
enough.
only projects about 5 feet beyond the house, while the porch itself projects 8 feet beyond the house. So I would have to move that pediment forward, which is not a problem. You know, it would just come to the end of the house where it belongs, to the end of the porch where it belongs.
Oh. Okay. All right, so I open it up to my fellow commissioners again then. Pediment or no pediment, maintaining the original shape of the pediment, or just having this flat roof the way that it is drawn now. Why don't we go back again, John? Oh, he's
Yeah,
gone?
no, I just had to unmute myself. I think this would benefit by some sort of pediment in the middle to break that flat roof up. And I think it would benefit, again, this is if we have this thing here, what are we suggesting? I would suggest the 2 additional columns on either side at the side elevation.
Pilasters.
There you go. Those are my suggestions.
Okay, great. Steve?
Yeah, I'm going to reiterate. I like the idea of the existing pediment, and maybe we could reuse that pediment and just pull it forward. I don't have a problem with the idea of a porch on the front of the house. And is that it? Yeah.
Yes, and the variance. You're in support of the variance.
I'm in support of the variance. I don't think the way the landscaping is set up, I don't think you will really notice.
Okay. And Jason?
I raised the question about the pediment, and if the architects are fine with modification to include the pediment, I'm in support of that as well.
Okay, great. And I think Caroline, correct? I don't think
Yeah, I didn't speak. I think that we should put in that, some commissioners had questioned whether the porch is appropriate to this particular style of house. But in the end, I'm willing to, if the zoning board is comfortable with it, and I think this design is acceptable.
Okay. All right. So do we have that, Graham, then? That the
So we have the kind of overarching comment, which is just the discrepancy of opinions, and we'll add a lot of language around that there were some commissioners not in favor of any modifications to the dwelling, and then we'll just add the caveat that should the application be approved, the commission requests that the plan be modified to reuse the existing pediment and pull it forward on the porch design, and to incorporate 2 additional columns at the face of the dwelling at the back side of the porch.
Those are technically called pilasters when it's kind of a half a column that meets the house. The drawings don't say anything about the size of the balusters. They're square, they're round, or what size they are. I think the spacing's problematic historically or traditionally. They're about 2.5 inches between the balusters, and I have concerns with the porch piers. It says here a post cover. That should be at least as wide as the base of the column. The columns traditionally land on a masonry pier that's bigger, or at least as big as the base. So these are some of these traditional details when you're designing a porch I think we should look at.
Can we ask that any revisions come back to the committee?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, why don't we do that?
Yeah, so the applicant is to just return to the final plan as approved by the board.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our final application of the night is also a referral to the planning board, application 2718, St. Luke's Church at 73 South Fullerton. And there is a planning report to this, and we've seen some things that they've been doing at the church recently. This is at St. Luke's Church. It's the subject property is listed on both the National and State Register of Historic Places. It was constructed around 1889 by architect R.H. Robertson. In addition, the property is located within the First Residential Historic District, a state district of historic places. The 2016 historic preservation element of the Township Master Plan identifies this property for potential listing as a landmark within the township. This application has been referred to the Historic Preservation Commission and will be reviewed tonight. And the project description is the applicant proposes to replace a portion of an existing outdoor stair with an outdoor ramp leading to a new door that would be located within an existing window opening. A new stair and ramp will be installed where a sidewalk currently runs along the south side of the church. The ramp and walkway will connect the existing church parking lot to the east. The project will require regrading of the area where the sidewalk currently exists, installation of a new retaining wall and landscaping. The purpose of this modification is to use underutilized space in the church for additional space for Tony's kitchen. And so we have, that's from the planning report. Mr. Connolly has written a consultant report, and we have
just to advise that Jackson Bank from Sionis Architecture is here, and he has a presentation that's on the screen at this time that he's offered to present. So,
who's here from Paul?
Jackson Bank.
Oh, good. Hi. Do you want? Can Ira swear you in?
Yeah. John Manel, the rector of the church, is also here. He'll be presenting as well.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we have Reverend John and Jackson Banks. Hi, guys. And I see Susan Singer. Who's that? Is she testifying?
She's the attorney for the applicant.
Oh, okay, then she won't be testifying. Thanks. Gentlemen, raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And
Okay, Jackson, why don't you begin?
Okay, so hello. As you might remember, about a year and a half ago, we presented a plan to you to improve barrier-free access to St. Luke's Church with a new door on the north side of the building, fronting Union Street. Today, as you said, we're here to talk about continuing our accessibility improvements, this time on the south side of the church. As a reminder, St. Luke's Episcopal Church owns 3 buildings at the corner of Union Street and South Fullerton, seen here. The church proper on the corner, the parish hall to the east, connected to the church via a bridge, and then a rectory to the south with a church lawn between them. The property is situated in the R1 zone, and as you noted, it's listed on the New Jersey and National Registers of Historic Places. Could you go to the next slide, Graham? Thank you. So here you can see a site plan of the church, and our proposal involves this new ramp that's just south of the sanctuary building. So the project will require a minor site plan application to the planning board. And so we're here for your advisory review. So I'm going to turn this over to Father John so that he can talk a little bit about why the church and Tony's Kitchen could really use this modification.
Thanks, Jackson. The need for this was actually clear even before the pandemic hit, as Tony's Kitchen had grown and was up to about 200,000 meal equivalents each year with the backpack programs that we were doing in the schools in Montclair and Bloomfield. We ran out of space that was accessible from the parking lot where we could wheel carts of food, produce, donations, and those kinds of things in and around. The pandemic has only exacerbated the situation. We have provided more than 1 million meals since the beginning of the pandemic. So 5 times more in the last 10 months than what we'd done in a year before. And it is clear that food insecurity is not going away, and so we will need to have additional material handling capability. And this ramp would give us access to approximately 2,000 square feet in the basement of the church, where we could put in food. And, you know, since the pandemic began, we've got two 20-foot refrigerated trailers taking up most of our parking spot lot. And one of the things it would do would allow us to move those indoors, which would be both aesthetically pleasing and more economical. So this ramp would give us the capability to continue to serve the community as we have been and as we likely will need to be doing in the future.
So, Graham, could you go to the next slide, please? So the area that you've been seeing in plan is depicted here in two existing photographs that I took. On the left, you see the church, or most of it, as seen from South Fullerton Avenue. And then on the right, you see the connector bridge that we referenced earlier, which connects the church to the parish hall and then has two doors exiting it that go to these twin staircases down to the level of the churchyard, which then continue down another stair to the level of the parking lot, which is lower. Could you go to the next slide? So here's a zoomed in version of the site plan, which also shows the interior rooms of the basement of the church. So as you can see, our proposal involves replacing that central portion of the stair with a ramp, which would slope up at barrier-free level from slopes from the parking lot to the basement, which is actually above the level of the parking lot there. The basement is at multiple levels, so the door that we built a year and a half ago, or the door we got approval for a year and a half ago and finished recently, is actually much lower than the basement in this area that Father John would like to use for Tony's kitchen. There's I think about 1.5 to 2 feet of difference in floor height between them. So in historical considerations, you'll see that we pulled the new ramp about 4 feet off of the south wall of the church. This was for two reasons. One is to align the pathway with that existing archway to enhance the symmetry that it has. And the other is just to minimize the amount of work that we're doing immediately adjacent to the 130-year-old walls of the church, because we want to minimize the risk of damage, and we don't want to expose basement stones, which weren't ever intended to be exposed. Also, the existing stairs down to the parking lot are solid brownstone, and when we remove them to make way for the ramp, if feasible, we're hoping to stockpile them and cut them down to make the new stairs, which we'll use to continue those two flights that are on either side down to meet the ramp. One note is that the existing guardrail on the side of the stairs is far too low to meet current codes. So when we extend the stairs, rather than trying to mimic it, which we wouldn't be allowed to do, we're going to replace it with entirely new railing. If you could go to the next slide. One difference you might notice between these drawings and the originally submitted ones are that the ramp is slightly wider than it was on the drawings that you received. What Tony's Kitchen, as John mentioned, has been receiving a lot more food donations recently, and a lot of it has been on pallets. And those are 40 inches wide by 48 inches long. And so to make for easier maneuverability, we widened the ramp from the 4 feet shown on this black and white drawing to the 5 feet shown on the on the colored version. We also moved the position of the door that enters the church from in plane with the walls to several feet inboard of them, which would allow for greater maneuverability. We didn't want to make the door wider at the church wall because we didn't want to disturb the existing masonry opening. Next slide. These are the elevations that were submitted depicting the ramp. But we'll move on to the next slide, if you could, Graham, which has 3D colored renderings. So this is a bird's eye view of the proposed ramp, which shows it and all of the detail with it. We also prepared another one on the next slide, which is a similar view, but head on, looking at the ramp at the archway, so that you can see how the ramp enhances the symmetry that the composition has. And then lastly, the view that we'll leave you with is a view from ground level, as you would see the new ramp standing in the churchyard right off of South Fullerton Avenue. So in this project, we think that we're really improving the accessibility of the church, helping make Tony's Kitchen function better, and doing all of that with minimal impact to the historic structure.
Thank you. Is that the end of your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Very impressive. So we'll start with questions from the commissioners. Mr. Reimnitz, are you there?
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Yeah, I have a question. Do you have a plan of what's existing now? Is there an existing floor plan?
I apologize, we don't.
Okay. If I'm understanding this is all to get rid of a couple steps that are between the basement and the back parking lot. Is that correct?
It's more than a couple. I can tell you the exact number in a moment. I want to say it's 8 or 9.
Okay. Oh, you're dropping all of that. But how do you turn those existing stairs with only a few risers?
So the existing stairs will. So the current number of stairs goes all the way up to the level of the churchyard. Mm-hmm. We will not. Our ramp will not extend all the way up to the churchyard level. Past the door that accesses the basement, there will be 5 steps up to the churchyard.
Got it. But you're dropping.
So there's currently 11 steps up from the churchyard to the connector bridge, and we're adding 6 risers to each side.
Where are you adding those 6 risers? That's what I'm missing.
So on the plan that Graham currently has up, you might be able to see, it says, yeah.
I see. That's what I couldn't figure out. I couldn't figure out where the risers were coming from. Okay.
I see. Yeah, so we're adding a landing of risers to each side.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That is my only question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rooney? Mr. Rooney?
You need to unmute.
Yeah, I'm muted. The
You're good.
aesthetically, I think it's fine. I think you've done a very good job. I don't really have any other questions. John brought up some ideas I didn't think about, but I think you've done a pretty good job here.
Thank you.
And Jason?
No questions.
And Caroline?
I have no question.
And I have no questions at this point. So we'll move on to Tom's recommendations here. I see that it's consistent with accepted historic preservation standards, what they're proposing. But you did ask if there was any exterior lighting. I'm sorry, Tom.
You can be my guest. No, I didn't have any comment, or the only questions I had was is there any exterior lighting proposed?
So yes, we are proposing some exterior lighting. We're proposing a wall-mounted sconce next to the new doorway. We're also proposing to replace the existing light fixtures above the archway of the connector bridge.
I noticed that, so that's good.
And above the a door that serves the south side of the church in the vicinity. We had specified light fixtures on the submitted drawings, but we've reconsidered our specifications and are still working on finding an appropriate fixture to match the style of the church. We would be happy.
I did not see any lighting as part of the drawings that were submitted. Not in my package. Were there other sets of drawings that were submitted, or?
There were light fixture specifications on sheet A1 in the lower left-hand corner. But I do want to emphasize that we are unlikely to use those exact fixtures. We're looking for something more that would go with the Gothic character of the building better.
Did you install any sconces on that entry that we approved a year and a half ago around the corner?
We did not. We installed a very small fixture that's in the roof rafters of it that just shines straight down.
Okay, that's fine. And my only other question was, is there going to be any kind of accessible route signage as part of the accessible route?
Father John and I discussed that after we received your memo, and seeing as the areas of that we're working on are not really open to the public, they're back of house spaces, we didn't think that seemed necessary.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much for the comments. We'll open it up for discussion. You know what? I have a question. The plantings, are you incorporating new plantings along the side? Those? Or
Yes.
those existing? Oh, those are new. Okay.
Yeah, there are no plantings there currently.
Okay, I think that's great. Okay, thanks. So we'll open it up for discussion now. John, can you leave?
I think this all looks great, and I've been by the church many times to see the entry on the side on, I guess it's Union Street. And it's, you guys did a good job there. So I'm assuming you'll, do this with the same level of care to the stonework. So I have no issues.
Great. Mr. Rooney?
I have no issues. I think it's going to be a really good addition.
And Ms. Kane Levy?
I think it's very sensitively done. With,
I didn't hear you. Can you repeat?
this is very sensitively done, and I can support it.
Great. And Jason?
No issues. I fully support this project.
Great. And I'd just like to add my comment is that I fully support it. The only thing I would add is maybe ask that we look at the lighting fixtures when you decide what you're going to choose.
We would be happy to do that.
Great. I think it looks wonderful, really. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Okay. So good luck. We'll write that. We have that down, right, Graham? That we fully support the application and the lighting fixtures. Right.
Yep.
Okay,
Just
wonderful.
for the benefit of the commission, this is going to be heard at the February 4th meeting of the Development Review Committee, as this is a minor site plan application with no variances being sought.
Okay. Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, Reverend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, we shall return to our new business, application 2695 at 54 South Mountain Avenue. This is a conditional use variance to expand an existing carriage house in the R1 Mountainside Zone. As noted before, this Mr. Hyman called for this to table this until the end of the rest of our business. So I understand, Graham, that we have nobody here to speak for this.
That's correct.
All right, so let me just get my notes. And I just wanted to, I can't find them now.
Graham, question. Do we have to, do we even have to look at this if there's no one here to present it? There's no witnesses, there's no anything here?
Well, so this is scheduled at the February 3rd Board of Adjustment meeting. So, you know, the board will proceed and review the application. You know, it's up to the commission to provide comments on it, you know, as it stands. So.
Okay. Mine's going to be very blunt.
Well, I apologize. I can't find my notes. So, Graham, can you give the introduction to it?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I have a couple of notes that I can share. So no problem. So this is as I mentioned earlier, this is an application to expand an existing carriage house on the subject property and construct a patio addition. This property is located in the First Residential Historic District. The dwelling was constructed around 1917, according to the township tax records. And I don't have much other information. The First Residential Nomination Report is not available digitally like the National Register reports are, so we don't have as much information on this. Unless, Tom, did you have some additional insights in your report, perhaps? I don't know. You know, the question that we had, which Kathleen kind of alluded to, was the visibility of this property. I'll just pull it up here on Google Street View so we can kind of just see the property from South Mountain Avenue. It is a little bit difficult to see the, hang on one second. It's a little slow.
So, Graham,
you could see it better driving southbound or northbound?
yes, that's just what I was going to mention, that going southbound, you would see the short end, the west side of the building, which is the short end, through trees. It's really not that visible. But as you come north on Bluefield Avenue, you see this whole facade for a few seconds as you pass the house. So we're reviewing this because it is, On South Mountain, I'm sorry, on South Mountain North towards Bloomfield Avenue. The facade that's up here in the top right is certainly visible. The whole facade is. But I know when you pull it up from Google Maps, you're not going to be able to see it. I tried to find it, and I didn't have my camera.
So, just wanted to try and show everybody a little bit as to just general sense of where the area is. So this is the dwelling here, and then this is the driveway leading back to the carriage house. So the carriage house is located at the top of this driveway. So when you see on the plan, I'll just pull the plan back up. So it's this long driveway, and then it's back up here, is the location of the carriage house. I just kind of wanted to give an orientation to that. So. And then the applicant has provided a photo of the existing carriage house, and then the proposal is to expand the carriage house, this addition to create a utility room and storage on the first floor, expand along the front to create tandem parking within the garage structure, a total of 5-car parking, and then an entry vestibule and hallway with stairs and a small elevator leading up to the second floor dwelling unit. This unit will contain 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a small screen porch, 2 small screen porches, and an outside terrace, kitchen, dining room area. And then the front elevations. This is the proposed front elevation, the proposed rear elevation of the building.
Yeah, it's not showing up on the screen, man. We just.
Oh, I'm
the
sorry. I
site
just went
plan.
through that entire presentation and you didn't see anything. I'm sorry. I'll swing back. So here is the proposed the driveway, and then the existing carriage house. This is the proposed additions to the dwelling, are represented by this dotted line here represents the current extent of the carriage house building. The addition here wraps around and creates kind of some additional space. On the first floor, as I mentioned, there'll be a storage room and utility area. The garage is to be extended to create tandem parking for a total of 5 vehicles. And then an entry vestibule hallway with a stair and elevator shaft going up to the upper floor expanded unit on the second floor of the carriage house. Upstairs here, you'll find a kitchen, great room, dining area, and a screened-in porch, an outdoor terrace, 2 bedrooms, and 2 bathrooms with another screened-in porch area. And then this is the submitted elevations of the modified carriage house. And then on the left, and then the side elevations. So the side elevation here, this is the side elevation that's facing towards South Mountain Avenue. So in the absence of vegetation at the top of the driveway, this is the view that you would see. Bottom side elevation.
Okay, in the absence of any applicant to give any testimony, I guess we should go. I just have a question though, Graham, on the plans. Does it speak about material at all?
It doesn't. I don't believe so. But Tom, I don't know. Tom, did you want to go through your report before we kind of?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, in reviewing this, technically, we're supposed to review it as if the vegetation wasn't there. So this structure would be visible from the street. I think on the 2 facades. So a couple of things that I noticed in looking at the main house and the carriage house, or the existing and the proposed, there was somewhat of an architectural language established in the existing house, which is different from the existing garage or the carriage house. But if you notice, if you look at the main house, the segmental arch windows that are on the main house are only at the first floor level. The second floor has completely different windows, or kind of, I think they're maybe 6/1 or just flat arched windows, which is different from what they're proposing in the new carriage house. They have the segmental arch windows on the second floor, which kind of is a different architectural language than what was already established. The window types in the proposed new carriage house, I think, should be of a similar style, again, to the main house or to the original carriage house. I think these have transoms and they look like they're casement windows. The original carriage house, I think were double hung windows. The architectural language of the existing carriage house is, you know, different from the main house and somewhat subservient to the main house, which I think it's, you know, carriage houses always should have a different language. And again, the materials, there was nothing on the drawings about proposed materials for the windows or the doors. The exterior cladding material, I think they're looking to, they're proposing a stone base to the building, which again, you know, we're introducing another material, which, you know, always kind of, it just changes the language of the architecture. On the main house, it's just a complete stuccoed exterior. With this carriage house, looks like they're introducing a stone cladding to the ground floor level. Nothing about the roof material. There are no gutters and leaders drawn on the building, but I think I had a few more comments. Yeah, nothing about the railing, what the railing material is for the second floor. I don't know if that's iron or it looks, I'm not sure what it is. Nothing about lighting, if there are any sconces or lighting proposed for the exterior. It looks like they're proposing to modify the existing retaining wall. They don't say anything about that. I'm guessing it'll be a similar material. But I think we need more detailed drawings. In general, I think I'm okay with the change in the size of the building. I mean, it's so far set back from the street. I don't think it'll be really perceivable. But the language of the architecture is something I think we need to pay attention to.
I'm sorry, what is the material of the main house?
Carolyn, I'm sorry.
I don't know why I have back feedback, but what is the material of the main house?
It's all stucco.
The house is stucco? The main building? I thought it was clapboard.
Yeah, I thought
No, it's stucco.
Okay.
Graham, you don't have that picture I sent to you, do you? Of the main house?
Yeah, I have that photo. Close-up photo, correct?
Okay, got it.
So if you look at the windows, that was, you know, one of my main concerns was those segmental arch windows are only on the ground floor. The second floor windows are double hung, which is, you know,
Right. Okay, thank you, Graham. Thank you, Tom. Any other comments, Tom, or is that's it? Okay, so why don't we, John, do you have any discussion points that you'd like to make about this application?
My basic point would be, I don't even want to comment on this. There's no one here to talk to it. As far as I'm concerned, the HPC should just say, we don't approve this at all. We don't know what's going on here, and we refuse to give any approval to this until someone comes and represents it. That's what I would say, you know.
Well, it's recommendations. It's not approval. And yes,
My recommendation is not to approve it.
Okay. Steve.
Just say, guys, you know, the applicant doesn't have to come. I mean, if they don't come, then the commission says what it wants about what, you know, based on what's in front of it, essentially. But as the chair said, it is a recommendation, so you should, you know, give whatever opinions you can form out of the material you have. But if you say you don't have enough, I guess that's what you'll say.
And in
Ira,
furtherance to that,
Ira, if you got a legal brief that was half baked and you wanted to comment on it, that's, and no one was there to talk to you about it, you'd say, forget it. I don't want to look at this. I don't want to look at this. That's my
Fair
comment.
enough.
I'm done.
Fair enough, but I just, it is.
Yeah, I hear you.
Can I just ask, are these the plans that will go to the zoning board? It's the zoning board,
Yeah.
correct? And
Yeah.
wouldn't the zoning board then have
well, and that's what I was trying to say. We've had this situation before at the HPC, and what we have done is contained within the report a note to the zoning board that the applicant did not appear.
Right.
And that helps the zoning board, in their process, and speaking with the applicant kind of address that as well. So that would be my recommendation in this case again.
Okay, so why don't we just hear everybody? Mr. Rooney?
Well, not knowing what the existing house looked like on these plans, it's really hard to tell, well, what are we doing? Is this mimicking the house, or is this something totally different? And the picture that was put up, you could see that there's a lot of details that could have been used, and the roofing, and it could be more of a meld of the existing house. I'm kind of surprised that it's going to the zoning board or the board of adjustment. They're building another house on the property.
Right.
It's a two-family now. I don't know if it's if they can actually build it as a second house. It's a complete place.
It's a conditional use variance that's going to the board.
If there's no subdivision and it's building it on the same lot, then they have to, only the Board of Adjustment can approve that kind of.
Right. I was just concerned about that because you actually are building a separate house. I would make, not use the cultured stone, just make it all stucco.
Okay, Jason, thank you, Steve. Do you have any comments about this discussion points?
Jason, you're on mute.
I echo John's sentiment about the applicant's failure to appear. We should definitely have a provision in there that they failed to appear. There are open questions that went unaddressed, and without answers to those questions, I mean, we can't provide an informed recommendation. I think we should request that as a condition of approval that they return to the HPC.
Jason, I didn't catch the last part of what you said, the last sentence.
That as a condition, if they were to approve this as a condition, I think they should be required to return to the HPC.
Yeah, I agree. Caroline, thank you. Caroline?
I think that's a good point. But I agree with Tom's assessment that all the details should relate better to the house and should be somehow subordinate to the house.
Okay. Yes, I agree with my colleagues. So let's craft this, Jason. I'm sorry, Graham. This memo to them that the applicant did not appear. You had some good language in there.
So if I could just make one recommendation. So just to advise, the applicant was provided a copy of Mr. Connolly's report. So they are in receipt of that document. So I think my recommendation would be that the commission do a memo to the board advising that the applicant failed to appear, and that that the HPC could not make a rendered recommendation could not render a recommendation to the zoning board of adjustment given the lack of a presentation, and that Mr. Connolly's report is attached to the memo, providing those comments on the application, and that should the application be approved, that the applicant return to the HPC to present, a final plan and review the final plan for the HPC. I think is kind of the summary text that I think,
Yeah, I think that's
would
perfect.
kind of encapsulate everything, and also make reference to the document that they have already received, because I think that helps. It's something that the applicant already has, that as Tom's comments have already been conveyed.
Well, I think you should add, I think Steve's comment or one of your comments that the application raised questions, significant questions, which couldn't be answered by the documents, and they were unable to question the applicant.
Okay. Great. And when does this go to the zoning board?
This is scheduled on February 3rd.
Oh, in 2 weeks. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Graham. Next up is a resolution that we have appointed Connolly and Hickey as the historic preservation consultant for the upcoming year. Has everyone had a opportunity to read the resolution? It was in our packet. And if so, could someone make a motion to accept it?
Motion.
There you go.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Tom. You better be prepared.
For another year.
Yeah, you have to put up with us for another year.
Nice way of putting it.
And then, Ira, you're up. We don't have the resolution establishing procedures for remote meetings.
I never sent you a finished one. I got really busy, and this is totally unnecessary. So I haven't really, unfortunately, got backburnered a little bit. But I had something a little more important to raise with you. The commission's been sued over 109 Union Street, and we received a lawsuit. The attorney was Alan Tremulak, and the applicant claimed that they should have been automatically approved because the board delayed and its commission delayed in its decision. That was the first count, and the second count was that the demolition ordinance and the HPC's power is not consistent with the municipal land use law. In other words, the commission isn't authorized to make this determination. And that was, as you recall.
Ira,
Yes.
can I stop you for a second? Graham, can I make a motion to go into executive session? Litigation?
If you want to do that, I was really going to just tell you, why don't you, let me just, I appreciate that, Jason, and maybe we want to do that, but let me just finish. Never mind. If you want to go into closed session, there's a basis for it, a legal basis for it. So if you'd like to do that, let's do it.
Yeah, just in case questions start arising, while you're giving your spiel. Let's just do it now.
Okay, so what should we do? Should we adjourn this meeting?
There's a resolution we have to adopt. It's whereas the Open Public Meeting Act, Section 12 provides for excluding the public during the discussion of certain matters. And one of those matters is litigation. So based the resolution is saying that consequently, we're going to go into executive session, exclude the public, to discuss litigation involving 109 Union Street. So if somebody makes that resolution, that motion.
I so move.
I second.
And we have a second? Okay. All right.
Now, whoever's controlling this has to cut the public out in case there are any. Yes.
Yes, Rick.
Oh, are we in the closed set? Wait, just let's make sure that. Oh, after
adjourn
closed
the
session?
meeting?
No, we have to come out. You can't adjourn a meeting from executive session. You have to go back out into, even if it's for a minute or a second, you have to go back out into open session.
Yeah, we'll keep you in, Rick. So you could just blank it out. Okay,
Oh,
just let us know.
okay. Right now, you should be cutting out.
So he's got to take a second to click off this.
Yeah. We do this with the council on the regular.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
And
Okay.
now we have to get back onto
Okay.
the public side of things and then continue the.
Okay. Okay, we're back up. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're ready to adjourn. The next meeting, Graham, if you would send out a new schedule. I don't know if you've done that yet, but that would be great. I don't know what the next meeting is, but we'll see everybody in a month's time. And may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:33?
motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Good night, everyone.
I think the
Everybody.
new schedule is up on the website.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay,
thanks all.
thank you.
Bye.